case you've been living under a rock for the past few years, I'm going to tell you two things. One, move into a house already, they're really nice. Second thing I'm going to tell you is that the video game industry is incredibly saturated with shooters or really violent games. Then again, it makes sense. Those games sell, and when you consider how huge some budgets are, why would a developer want to take a risk like that? However, this is what's made downloadable games so interesting lately. It's because of the smaller budget that developers are more likely to take risks and really innovate. No game shows this better than revOO, a must-buy for any Steam user or Wii owner, and probably the best downloadable game I have ever played. I know what you're thinking, revOO, it sounds incredibly stupid. Bear with me. Here's the basic objects of the game. You've got goo balls in one location and you're trying to get them to an exit pipe in another location. And you will probably have to overcome some kind of obstacle like a turning gear or a big cliff. The only way you can cross these is by making scaffolding out of the very goo balls you have to harvest, thus making a bit of an efficiency battle. It's very simple in idea, but it is incredibly mind-bending. This is like playing Portal. You'll hear about this and you'll think, how can this be interesting? How can it be difficult in any way? You'll start playing this, you will have your mind blown at some of the solutions. It is so incredibly well done. This is made even better with the controls being A, very simple to learn, but the game itself being incredibly deep. This is a physics game at heart, and the physics are done incredibly well. Everything you will be able to see what's going to happen to it, and if you aren't going to be able to see what happens to it, then you'll learn from that. That's really what makes a great physics game. Most importantly though, the game has lots of variety. You never feel like you're doing the same thing more than once. And even if you are doing something again, it's usually made much more difficult or given a really interesting twist. It keeps the game fresh at all times, never giving a sense of repetition. And trust me, the levels can get very challenging. Now, to exit each level you have to collect a minimum number of goo balls, but you can collect more. And this is where things get interesting. Any extra ones you collect are sent to the revOO industry, basically serving as the leaderboard. You take these goo balls and use them to build a tower as high as possible. You can use that, then compare them to other players who are represented by clouds. However, there are almost no clouds because very few people actually play the game. This is my tower. The thing I like about this leaderboard method is that it doesn't just measure how far you are in the game and how good you are in the game, but also measures your skill because you have to build up your tower manually. So it also judges your efficiency and your knowledge of knowing the little tricks that help you get around this game. The presentation is another thing I give top marks to on this game. The whole thing has a very dark, cute, kind of Tim Burton Nightmare Before Christmas look to it. Whether or not you'll like that will all depend, but there's no denying that the music at work here is also fantastic. It's weird, wild, but it fits the mood perfectly. Really, this was a hard game to judge because I had to find some bad points, and I really dug deep and ultimately found two that I found stood out. One, there is no free camera. The camera is completely controlled with the pointer, and you move it around by dragging it to the edge of the screen, but there's some times where you may wish that, well, you'd wish you'd be able to zoom in and out, and the plus and minus buttons are well free, so you're wondering why they don't allow that, or why they couldn't let you move the camera around with a nunchuck. It's a very small complaint though. However, there will be moments when you'll kind of wish that you could zoom in and out. Another thing is that the goo balls can get cluttered. It's not too much of a problem at the beginning and it never becomes a huge problem. However, later on you will have a bunch of goo balls going around the same piece of scaffolding and it'll sometimes be difficult to grab one. And this is made a bit more of a problem when time is of essence. It isn't a huge problem, but occasionally it can really get in the way and lead to some rather cheap retries on levels. So there you have it. Really, there's no reason for you to not buy this game. It is so fantastic. As I said, innovative, fun, artful, mind-bending, fantastic. Considering that this is a downloadable game that's better than most full-priced games out there, I don't see why you shouldn't buy it. 15 bucks on WiiWare, 20 bucks on Steam, revOO, awesome game, games are art. You don't get this, you are an idiot!